Welcome to Tia's Table, where we talk about making fitness and wellness doable for busy women like you and me. Looking for healthy meal ideas, workout motivation, and good conversation? Don't worry, I got you, girl. Sit back, grab a snack, and let's have some girl talk. Hey girl, hey, welcome back to another episode of Tia's Table. I'm Tia, a certified group fitness instructor and nutrition coach. I help women develop healthy habits that align with their health, wellness, and fitness goals. If you or if someone you know is looking to develop some healthy habits in 2025, reach out to me. You can do that by emailing me at tiavfitness@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me on Instagram at tiavfitness. We are doing some incredible things in the app right now. We are on day 17 of 75 Hard, and I am so super proud of all of the women who are completing the challenge. Y'all, they are knocking it out of the park. We just had our first weigh-in 2 days ago, and I'm seeing everything from maintaining their current weight all the way up to a 7-pound weight loss. Like, can you even believe that in 15 days? It is crazy what a good routine will do for you and your goals and your body. So keep those women in your T's and P's as we continue to push towards day 75. I cannot wait to see where everyone ends up at the end of the challenge. You know what's on my table right now? Like I said, I'm trying to get back to a place where I'm eating all of the regular foods again, coming off of the holiday season, right? I made chicken and broccoli yesterday, or was it the day before? It doesn't matter. But I made chicken and broccoli one day this week because that's what I would normally get from the Chinese takeout restaurant that I absolutely love, right? And I was like, ooh, no, Tia, you can make this at home. So what I did is I took the Aisha curry black pepper steak recipe and I just swapped out chicken for the steak and I add broccoli. Typically when I make that recipe, I always add the broccoli and the mushrooms. The recipe calls for mushrooms, but I always add broccoli because I'm like, what else would you eat with this? I don't know, but broccoli goes with literally everything. So I always throw that in anyway. When I mean to tell y'all, that thing turned out so good. There were no leftovers really. Like I was able to eat lunch the next day, but we killed that pot of chicken and broccoli. My kids loved it. My husband loved it. It was so good. So if you do not have her recipe, let me tell you how to make your own brown sauce, right? You use coconut aminos, and I think her recipe calls for half a cup. So coconut aminos, ginger, garlic, and onion. And girl, we don't have to measure those. You just let the spirit of the flavor lead you, right? You need black pepper, and I think you do 1 or 2 tablespoons of black pepper. I don't know for certain. You do some brown sugar, and I think that's about the same, 1 or 2 tablespoons, and some cornstarch, and that's it. Now, when people hear that there is brown sugar in a recipe, people are normally like, oh my gosh, added sugar, or like sugar in general. And I'm like, the amount of sugar that's in that recipe is so minimal that when you eat an individual serving, you will barely get, much sugar at all when you think about it, right? If the recipe only calls for about a tablespoon, when you make your individual bowl, it can't be much sugar in it. It really can't. So sometimes when we look at recipes, let's not be afraid to try things just because it says there's sugar. Because you notice what I did not say was in this recipe, and that is salt. Typically when I look at a recipe, that's what I look for. I don't want to see a lot of salt in a recipe, right? I want to be able to use other ingredients to make it taste really, really good with as little salt as possible. And for me, I'm much more comfortable with a tad bit of sugar than I am with like loads of salt. But everybody has to do what's right for them. And for some people, maybe you don't want the sugar and you wouldn't mind like a little salt here and there. But when I mean to tell y'all, that sauce comes out perfect and it rivals any Chinese takeout order that you will do. It is right up there with like your favorite beef and broccoli or chicken and broccoli or shrimp and broccoli or whatever from a restaurant. So what I will do for those of you who are in the app, I will take a snapshot, take a picture of that recipe, and I'll load it in the app for the Women Doing 75 Hard if you happen to be listening to this, because it's really that good. Now, we ate ours with jasmine rice. Of course, if you don't want to eat rice, you can always swap it and have like quinoa with it. That would still be really good. And I have eaten it before with quinoa, and it was amazing. So I will post that for you all. That's what was on my table most recently that I'm just like, yes, I forgot how good that was, and I have to tell everybody about it. That recipe is also in Aisha Curry's Full Plate cookbook, which, by the way, is an amazing cookbook. Every recipe that I have made from it has been absolutely delicious. So I'll put a link to the cookbook in the description box for people who might be interested in getting that and trying like more of her stuff, because she did a really good job with that cookbook. I have cooked from many a cookbook, right? And let me tell you who the two consistent cookbook authors are. I had to slow down to say that. Let me tell you, Aisha Curry and Chrissy Teigen. Both of them, if you get any of their cookbooks, if you make it according to what you see on that page, it is going to turn out fantastic. I don't know what test kitchen they use, but their recipes are legit. Like every time, you don't have to do anything to the recipes that they write. So there's that. Now, just a quick little housekeeping note. I do feel as if I'm coming down with a little something. So if you hear me sniffle, like, girl, I think I'm catching a cold, I don't know. Truly, it is a stress-induced cold. If I want to keep it 100, like, it is definitely a stress-induced cold. I've had the craziest, longest week, and I think the amount of stress that I was under has made me almost like sick. So keep all of that in mind as we go through this call today, because we have a lot to talk about. Now, as promised back in 2024, I told you guys we were going to cover the Perricone Promise, because that textbook, and I'm joking when I call it a textbook, it was just so much information for no reason. I wonder why now. Why is that book so many pages? I think because they went into great detail with like everything, when really you did not have to do that. And now today, side note, today I am recording this in my dining room instead of upstairs in my closet. So number one, if there's an echo, I'm sorry, but I'm waiting on a package and I don't want the package just to sit out on the front porch. But then number two, as I'm talking to you guys, I'm looking up at the ceiling in my dining room, and I need to get one of those long duster things that like fully extend out so you can dust all the little corners that you don't ever really look at and see. Anyway, because I just gave myself something else to do. So, but anyway, yes, I don't know why that book is so long, because truly this could have been a one-pager front and back, to be honest with you, but I get it. They like giving people too much information so that you can't say you were never told anything if you buy the book, right? The Perricone Promise centers itself around eating rainbow foods, so lots of different colors of foods, primarily veggies that are non-starchy. They want you to take supplements. They want you to use topicals that are neuropeptide creams, and it's a 28-day program that initially starts with a 3-day program first. So it's kind of like they give you training wheels for 3 days, and then you transition over to the 28-day program that is a little less restrictive than those first 3 days. And we're going to get into the details of all of it, right? So the rainbow food style of eating is basically an anti-inflammatory diet, right? It's supposed to improve your mental clarity, increase your energy levels, and reduce all signs of aging. They actually claim that you will look 10 years younger by the time you finish this 28-day program. And do I believe that? Nah, I don't know if I believe you can make yourself look 10 years younger, but I do believe you can take years off of your life by changing your habits. That, yes, I absolutely believe that. The diet is rich in protein, fiber, and antioxidants, right? And I'm going to go through all of this just so that you and I can come to an agreement that all of these diets are the same, right? The stuff that we talk about on these calls with one another feels repetitive sometimes, but that is my attempt at hopefully helping people see that you don't have to follow any one diet at all, because girl, all of them basically lead you back to the same thing, right? Right. Okay. So on this diet, you would not be eating any bread, fried foods, fruit juice, pasta, snack foods, soda, or anything that's high in sugar, which of course, like we got that. Now that 3-day program that you start out with initially, they recommend that you eat the exact same thing for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a bedtime snack every day for 3 days. That 3-day diet, for breakfast, you would have a half a cup of oatmeal that is not instant. So we're not talking about the little Quaker Oats packs that you rip open, you drop some water or milk in there and you microwave it. That's not what they want. They want a half a cup of oatmeal. And if you've been with me for a while, you know I always recommend Bob's Red Mill Oat Bran. I love it. I had that for breakfast this morning, actually, and it was really good. So they want you to do a half a cup of oatmeal with a 3-egg omelet or 4 to 6 ounces of salmon, right? A third a cup of berries and 8 to 12 ounces of spring water. That is breakfast. And for somebody, I just rocked your whole world. I know you heard me say all of that and you're like, there's no way I would be able to eat all of that for breakfast. And yeah, like, girl, when I read that, it sounded like a lot to me, but then I had to think about it and I was like, well, no, I ate oatmeal this morning, right? And I had mine with chicken sausage, but I guess I could have eaten it with salmon. But 4 to 6 ounces of salmon, that's a decent portion of salmon. And a 3-egg omelet is not the smallest omelet. So that's a lot of protein, but you are pairing it with a decent amount of fiber. So I could see how that would work, right? Then you have the third a cup of berries. So that to me is a very well-balanced breakfast. You're getting some fiber, some protein, some carbs, and you're drinking some water. You're starting your day off really strong. Okay. For lunch, he recommends 4 to 6 ounces of salmon, 2 cups of romaine or any other dark leafy green, maybe kale, with olive oil and lemon juice. So right off the bat, we're making our own salad dressing, which is something that I think most people should get into the habit of doing because it reduces the fats by a lot when you make your own. There's 1 kiwi fruit, and then you get another 8 to 12 ounces of spring water, right? For dinner, you get 4 to 6 ounces of salmon, 2 cups of romaine or a dark leafy green, a half a cup of broccoli or spinach, 8 to 12 ounces of spring water, and you should be eating a cantaloupe and berries mix, right? If you need a snack before you go to bed, a bedtime snack can be either 2 ounces of sliced turkey breast or 6 ounces of plain Greek yogurt, 1 apple, and a small handful of walnuts or almonds. So when I read that, I immediately say, first of all, I'm not eating 6 ounces. 6 ounces of plain Greek yogurt is a lot, especially if we're not putting anything on it. Like, I guess you could put the nuts and the apple in it, but that doesn't even sound good to me. I would have a hard time eating that. So I would probably opt for the turkey breast, some apple slices, and I would do walnuts or almonds and make myself like a cute little charcuterie situation if I needed a bedtime snack. Now, you notice that 3-day meal plan was it was all salmon. It was all salmon. Now, he does say that you can swap the salmon for chicken or tofu, but he doesn't, and I'm assuming the chicken would have to be a chicken breast, which if it's me, I'm gonna just do the salmon. Like, I'm probably not gonna want to eat that that much chicken. Only because a chicken breast, you got to get that cooked like perfect in order for it to be good. And sometimes, even if you air fry it or pan cook it or whatever, I don't know. There's a lot of room for error with chicken breast. So I would probably stick with the salmon or actually the tofu. But that's what you would eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and a snack for those 3 days. Now, that meal plan has a lot of omega-3 fats in it, and that's another one of the big goals of this whole program. So it's like they get you started with getting used to eating all of these different antioxidants, right? Then you switch over to the 28-day program, which is a little less restrictive. Now, the 3-day program, that is what you eat. That's the only thing you can eat for those 3 days. I'm just making sure we're all on the same page. Then we go to the 28-day diet, right? And for the next 28 days, these are the foods that you can eat. Now, as I read this list of foods off to you, mentally check off what of this you are already eating. And I say that because a lot of times we are already doing a lot of these different programs. So whenever you're consuming content, right, and you see like a new way of eating, or you see some type of diet, or you see people sharing what they ate in a day or whatever, I feel like sometimes that does influence us to think that we need to switch up what we're doing and start eating like so-and-so or start trying another diet or whatever, when really we are already eating a lot of these things. Maybe not plated in the way you're seeing it, but you're probably already doing a lot of this, right? Or maybe you're not, because there is a food list of things to avoid, but we're going to get to that next. So these are the things that you should be eating throughout the 28 days. You should be eating seafood, including salmon and scallops, right? Poultry, chicken and turkey, whole eggs and egg whites, Greek yogurt or kefir. I never did develop the thing for kefir. Non-starchy veggies like asparagus, greens, cabbage, celery, and tomatoes. Nuts, they recommend macadamia, Brazil, almonds, and walnuts. Fruits, berries, and cantaloupe, which is weird to me that you don't get more fruit than that. But I get it, because a fruit like a banana definitely carries a lot of carbs in it. So I get that. They want you to eat beans and lentils, healthy fats like olive oil and avocados, whole grains like oats and quinoa. And then for your beverages, you can have green tea or water, and girl, that's it. They said that's it. That's all you can drink. It's either going to be green tea or water. And what's really interesting to me about that is that they don't even have like unsweetened beverages like listed. So like in our minds, we would think, oh, well, I could probably have tea. I just can't put anything in it. But what we learn when we get to the next set of things that you're not supposed to eat is they're concerned most with the caffeine content in some of the things that you might drink, right? So the foods to avoid here are high processed, fast food, and packaged snack foods, right? Alcohol, coffee, white bread, pizza, pasta, any food that is considered a high glycemic food, right? So if it's on the high glycemic index, if it gets a high number there, they don't want you eating it. And an example of that would be like a white potato or like fruit juice, right? White potatoes are not bad for people, especially if they are baked. But because of the glycemic index, because they know chances are people might slip around and fry one of those, because that also determines a glycemic index number, is how the food is going to be prepared. It might get a number that's like unfavorable, and most diets will be like, no, because they don't trust us to just bake it and then put some Greek plain yogurt on the top instead of sour cream. They don't think we're going to do that. I mean, I do it. I don't know if everybody's doing it though. But because of that, they said we can't have nothing nice like a white potato. So that always rubs me the wrong way, but I get it. Then, of course, fried foods is on here, and anything high in added sugar like a soda or ice cream, you cannot have it. Which is, par for the course for most diets that you are interested in learning more about or considering, right? On average, a Perricone Promise meal is going to come out to be about 1,600 calories. Like a day of eating is going to come out to be about 1,600 calories. Now, that's probably okay if you are looking to lose weight, right? But for some people, this diet maybe wouldn't be the best choice, especially let's say you're on a weight loss journey and someone like me calculates your numbers and you could be eating 1,800 calories a day and still lose weight, right? Because that's the goal. The goal is to fill up your numbers as much as you possibly can without going over, because you don't want to be hungry and you want to have a lot of energy to help you power through those workouts. So if you do something like this, you would be coming in well under the amount of food that you could have. And I say that to say there would be no reason for you to be hungry, right? Because if you could be eating 1,800 calories and still progress towards your goal, why would you only eat 1,600? Unless you're completely satisfied at the 1,600. Do you see what I'm saying? Like there's no reason to eat so little, because most of us don't have to eat like that to get to where we want to be, right? Now, for some people, you'll have your numbers calculated and 1,600 is right where you're supposed to be. I'm one of those people. 1,600 is like my max for each day. So a meal plan like this, maybe it would be okay for me because it comes out to what I'm supposed to be eating anyway. However, this particular style of eating really is not anything special and or new. Like I don't even understand how this got to be so popular. I think it got popular for the next part of it that we're going to talk about in a minute, because they combine supplements with this meal plan with exercise. And I think the way that it was packaged and presented to people made it seem way more revolutionary than what it actually is. But when I read through all of this, I said to myself, so basically eat vegetables, eat lean cuts of meat, stay away from red meat, have a variety of healthy fats, don't drink any soda or alcohol. Well, coffee definitely took me by surprise, because I'm like, most things let you have coffee, but maybe they just mean no coffee because they know we're going to add all of the things to it, right? So that did surprise me. But for the most part, this way of eating isn't any different than the stuff we already talked about anyway, in my opinion. Or at least it's no different than what we all say we want to do, right? We all say we want to do these things. And I saw on Instagram, I think somebody shared it with me, but it was a video of somebody shaking up a salad. And they were like, POV, like it's January 1st to the 15th and I'm eating healthy, like I'm turning over a new leaf. And in all the clips, the person was just like shaking that salad. And I'm like, yeah, because that's how it starts out. At the beginning of the year, we're all like, yep, I'm eating healthy now. I'm doing all these different things. When really it's kind of like, no, it's nothing new. It's nothing special. Maybe we just put more of an emphasis on it and we're a lot more dialed in during those first 2 weeks of the year. But so far, to me, this is not anything that we haven't discussed here already. So the food part, to me, nothing special about it. An anti-inflammatory way of eating is probably one of the best things you can do for yourself in terms of maintaining results, right? Because the less inflamed you are, the less inflamed you appear. So you will look just healthier overall when your body is not full of so much sodium, so many bad fats, so much sugar. This also, to me, kind of lends itself somewhat to like a Mediterranean style of eating, maybe like a pescatarian style of eating. And I forgot what people call it in this moment because I've taken Benadryl. I cannot remember if it's a chicken pescatarian or whatever people call it when they only eat like birds and fish or poultry and seafood. I guess that's the proper way to say it. Poultry and seafood. But to me, this is, this sounds doable as I was reading through it. And I also went online and I read some reviews about it from some health magazines. Health magazines were really hard on this. They were like, oh, it's not sustainable. This is something that you do for such a short amount of time. And then after day 28, you kind of just go right back to eating how you used to. So you probably will gain whatever weight loss you had. You probably will gain it back. And I'm like, no. This to me sounds very doable. It might take you longer than 28 days to fully adopt what they're talking about here. And I think that's the mistake most coaches, doctors, people who work in the wellness and fitness space, I think that's a common mistake that they make, is that they just assume, oh, just do this for a month or do this for 21 days and like, girl, you'll be good to go. And in my experience, I'm like, no, actually, it probably takes people somewhere between, I'm going to say 75 and 90 days to truly form a new lifestyle. So this is something that you would have to do for way longer than 28 days before you knew whether or not the results you got from it were results that you can maintain, right? The supplement portion of this, to me, feels like a money grab, to be honest, because of course, the Perricone Promise, they have their own supplements and they encourage everybody to go up there and buy them. Now, to their credit, these supplements have very good ratings. I have never taken any of them, so I can't speak to how well they work or if they're worth the money or anything like that. But I do know when I Googled them, the ratings were 4.6 out of 5. They are anywhere from $45 to $167, which to me is a little on the pricey side for supplements, right? Especially since we don't know if they are going to work for us or not. But, $45 to $167 per 30 to 90 day count, right? The supplements include omega-3s. There's a skin clear supplement that includes evening primrose, B complex plus C, calcium, magnesium plus vitamin D, vitamin E, omega-3s, and something called a sorbitol palmitate. And then there's something called ALA plus DMAE, right? Now, a sorbitol palmitate is a fat-soluble antioxidant and vitamin C supplement, and it works primarily for skin brightening to decrease the signs of aging. ALA and DMAE is in common skincare products, and it works for firmness and elasticity. You can get ALA and DMAE on Amazon by the Now Vitamin Supplement Company for literally $10.40. It was way more than that on the Perricone Promise website. So I wanted to share some of the individual ingredients, like the vitamins or whatever, in some of these products, because if you feel like your either meal routine or your supplement routine is lacking in any of them, maybe you can kind of cherry pick which ones you want to take and go find a less expensive alternative somewhere that you feel safe buying supplements from, right? So that was the Skin Clear supplement. The Skin and Total Body supplement aims to support your immune system, your bone and joint function, and your hair and nails. The metabolic formula supports weight management, and it may, heavy on the may, reduce body fat and increase lean muscle mass. They have a supplement called Beauty from the Inside Out, and it aims to help strengthen your cardiovascular system and your metabolic health. And then there's a health and weight management supplement that aims to, of course, help your metabolic function increase without the use of any type of stimulant. So they're saying like it's caffeine free, it's stimulant free. You will be able to get health and weight management without some of like the bad things that are in some of the products that we know about. So, I mean, overall, I don't really see a problem with this Perricone Promise way of trying to adopt healthy habits or live a healthier lifestyle. It, to me, just sounds like what most people are already doing. Now, he does also, like I said before, he wants people to use topicals and different creams, I guess, based on your needs, because he is a dermatologist. So a lot of this is aimed at your skin, making sure your skin looks more radiant, making sure it has that youthful glow. It really did not start out as even like a weight loss program. But when people started eating the way that he was telling them to, based on what their skin needs were, people did start losing weight. And I think what he said to himself was, oh, my patients are losing weight based on how I'm telling them to eat and the things I'm telling them to do. So maybe I should package all of this up, put it in a book because I'm a doctor, and I'm going to sell it. And that's exactly what he did. And it took the world by storm. But is it special? Is it anything that you probably didn't already know about? Is it a really thick book that doesn't say a whole lot, but it says a whole lot? Absolutely. Like you read through that whole book just to get back to a place of, oh, yes, let me eat whole foods. Let me avoid alcohol, sugary beverages, things that come in a bag or a box, bread, pasta, pizza, lots of dairy, like whatever. Like they all come back to being about the same thing, which is why I always encourage people just eat as many whole foods and as you can with a protein, with some type of protein. Try to eat a style of eating that includes lots of fiber, an amount of protein that you're comfortable with. And if your goal is to lose weight, then figure out what your caloric intake needs to be and try to stay under that number. And it's just that. We do not have to keep buying all of these different books, switching what we're doing. Every time we see a great reel or TikTok video, say, oh, now I'm going to try this. No, because what we know now in 2025 is that it all comes back to being the same thing. It is all the same. It is all the same. The only thing different is the amount of days that people tell you should do it, right? Some programs might be for 6 weeks. Some of them might be for 28 days. And in my opinion, you probably do, well, not, the word need is always a little touchy for me. But in my opinion, most people probably do really need about, I'm going to say on the low end, 60 days, but for sure, at least 75. And I know that from doing 75 hard. We're in our second round of doing it right now. And I'm like, yeah, some of the responses that I'm seeing from some of the women in the group, some of them have already had like those light bulb moments of, oh my gosh, this is what I should have been doing all along. Or they've had that moment of like, oh my gosh, this is doable. Like I can do this. And I'm learning now how to maintain what it is that I need to do just to maintain where I'm at. Or if I want to continue to see progress, I know that it takes this level of effort and energy to do that. And I love that they've already gotten that within the first 15 days because that's going to make the rest of the challenge super easy for them. But do I think that something like this is absolutely necessary? No, because people are already doing it. Hopefully I'm saying this in the right way. I'm a little foggy because of the Benadryl, but yeah, you don't need to buy another book. I guess that's what I'm saying. You don't need another textbook. You don't need to listen to anything else. Truly, at this point, we know what we should be eating and drinking and doing. It's all about action, right? It's either I'm going to get up every day with the intention to do these things, or I'm not. I'm going to get up every day and actually do these things, or I'm not. And I just have to know as a person, right? Every day that I wake up and I choose not to do them, I am choosing to remain how I am, which is lovely if you're happy with where you are. But if you're a person who desires even like the smallest amount of change, you have to start saying to yourself, okay, every day I'm going to get up and I'm going to stretch and grow myself by challenging myself to eat differently, to make time for workouts. I know I will be uncomfortable. I know sometimes I will be tired. I know sometimes maybe I just will not want to eat this stuff. I know sometimes I'm going to have a hard day and I might want a glass of red wine at the end of the night. I know all of these things, but I'm going to make a choice that aligns with my health, wellness, and fitness goals, because I would also like to see change just as much as maybe I would like a few scoops of gelato before I go to bed. You know what I'm saying? It's all a choice. And whatever we get back from the choices we make is all on us, right? It is all on us. Getting another book, trying another diet, switching, well, I'm not going to say switching trainers, but trying the newest workout fad, like none of that is going to get you to where you want to be if all you ever do is scroll and read and listen and you don't actually start doing the stuff, right? You have to move yourself from being merely interested or maybe considering doing stuff or just knowing you should be to a place of actually doing, right? And in a good situation, we want to actually do before we are like under the gun for something, right? You want to have these good habits in place before you have to go see a doctor about something, or before you decide you want to look or feel a certain way for a big event in your life, right? The whole stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And as we are all on a journey to constantly being ready, one of the ways to enjoy the journey and not maybe focus so much on what I can't have is what we talked about at the beginning of this call, which is getting a recipe that is, good for you and making it taste so good that you really don't miss out on eating out or you actually enjoy it. Flavor is huge in the health food world. If you're a person who hasn't gotten to a place yet where you're like seasoning your food really well, or you might not know a whole lot about flavor combinations or how to properly cook food, I highly encourage you to maybe go to your local grocery store. I'm going to use Costco as an example because, girl, that's what I know. When you go in Costco, there's a whole section of prepared meals for you that the deli makes. They always have salads and salmon or different soups or chilies or like whatever, but it's already made for you. All you have to do is go home and like pop it in the oven and it already comes seasoned. Sometimes they'll even have like the little butter rounds on the salmon. There are ways for you to meal prep and eat really well without necessarily having to cook all this stuff for yourself. If you're a person who's short on time and you just cannot cook, or if you're a person who just hasn't learned how to cook yet, get creative and see how you can get the food already made for yourself, right? I know Chipotle does catering. Lots of the steak restaurants do catering, or you can buy like meal prepped trays of food. There are ways around a lot of this stuff. And I think a lot of times people just make it more difficult than it has to be. Because really it's very easy. You're going to buy food anyway, right? You're going to either go grocery shopping or you're going to go buy food from a restaurant anyway. So when you go to spend that money, think about spending it in a way that truly is in line with how you want to pursue your health, wellness, and fitness goals. And something like the Perricone Promise, I think, is a great way for people to get started because it does talk about practicing lots and lots of healthy habits. Is it overly restrictive? I'm going to say no, it's not, because you get meat, veggies, and some grains, right? Maybe not as many carb options as I would like to see. But I think something like this is a good way to get people to limit some of the stuff on the avoid list, right? And truly, that's what's it about. Once you're able to get rid of eating high processed foods, fast foods, packaged snacks, once you get the whole alcohol thing under control, maybe you are limiting your amount of bread and pizza and pasta, and you're definitely cutting out fried foods as much as you can, and definitely cutting out the soda, you're going to be well on your way to like eating better and being a more healthier version of yourself, especially when you combine that with the exercise. It's just going to naturally happen. So I don't know. Hopefully you enjoyed the cliff notes of this style of developing healthier habits. I felt like it was kind of quick, but once I got done reading the book, I was like, wait a minute, there's no need for us to spend several episodes on this because it basically comes back to being about what we have already discussed on here several times, which is a good thing because that just confirms for us that it's not hard, it's not super complicated. At the end of the day, it's protein, fiber, veggies, and avoid the things that we know just aren't good. And if you want to throw in some supplements, girl, with your doctor's permission, throw those supplements in there and see what type of results you get. Now, for the workout report, there's nothing new there. We are walking, strength training, and doing Pilates. Now, what I will say, though, is over this past week, I have noticed that when I'm super busy or like I'm short on time, some of the days where I'm supposed to be strength training here at home, it's not always like the best strength training session. And I try not to be hard on myself about that because I'm like, girl, Tia, every day is not going to be perfect. But I have noticed that like, oh, when I'm at Pilates, that's great because I'm there and I get the 50 minutes. The classes are really good. I can feel all of the body parts working, and that's great. When I'm home, I feel as if those sessions, I don't know, are just like hitting different. But you want to know what I think it is too? I really do feel like the outdoor walk is really that girl. Like it really is. Nothing compares to it. And I think walking on the treadmill, even when I walk super fast, and I give it a little bit of an incline or something so that it feels like more of a challenge, it's just not hitting the same for me. So I'm in a completely different mental space after I do my cardio when I'm home. And so then I think that is kind of sort of like affecting my weightlifting. Now, I could start running at home, and I'm almost certain that is what I'm going to have to do until the weather warms up. Like, instead of me saying to myself, like, oh, yeah, girl, let's just go down here and walk, get your steps in, and move on with your life. No, I'm almost certain I'm going to have to start running again. And back when I was teaching, you know, I would teach my classes, but then on certain days out of the week, I would leave work and I would go to the gym and I would run. And I would do a 5K a day is what I would say to myself. Like, oh, we'll just run 3 miles and then we'll get out of here. And I'm thinking that's what I need to get back to, because when I walk anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, which is not a big deal. But I feel as if, and it could be because it's so cold in my basement because it's unfinished, but I'm like, I'm not even sweating. Like my heart rate is not getting up the way that I think it would outside because my neighborhood is hilly. Like I just can't replicate the outside feeling indoors here, right? So I'm like, yeah, I'm probably going to have to just start full on running for my cardio, period. So that's what I'm about to do. That's going to be the only change that I make. I will be implementing that change as soon as I know more about what's going on with my immune system in this current moment. I do not feel as if I'm going to get all the way sick. Like I can tell, I don't think I'm going to get taken out by this. I don't think I'm going to go all the way down. But yeah, as it stands today, like I'm not feeling 100%. I would say I'm probably at like 75 to 80% right now. And that's saying to me, no, absolutely not. So we'll see. Next week I'll start running and I'll see what type of impact that has on my overall routine. Now, for some of the random and relatable things that I've seen all over the internet. Number one, Wendy Williams had an interview with The Breakfast Club, which I don't watch or listen to. Like, I don't give them any ratings just because I don't really like them like that. But she was on there, and she also interviewed with Don Lemon, and I saw lots of people talking about free Wendy, give that lady her life back, and all of that. And I do feel bad for her if she has been put in a situation like Britney Spears was with that conservatorship. That to me is your family and your friends basically trying to steal your money, basically putting you in a situation where you don't have any rights, right? And even if Wendy is sick, which I know she has had some medical problems, even if that's the case, just because a person is sick or they're going through like a medical thing, it doesn't mean that they're not lucid enough to make their own financial decisions. So that's where that whole thing is like losing me. I'm kind of like, what about her being sick or not being in the best of health made y'all think she needed somebody to fully like take her life from her, basically? So there's that. The other side to that, to me, is people are like, yeah, bring Wendy back. Daytime TV misses Wendy, blah, 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 blah. And I know I'm in the minority here. This is going to be a very unpopular thing to say, but I didn't like the Wendy Williams show. And I feel like you have to whisper it when you say it. But no. And you know why I don't like it? And even content creators that I see on social media, if the only thing you ever do is talk about the bad moments in someone else's life, or like you poke fun at it, you kind of kick them while they're down, that kind of content does not resonate with me. Even if it's fact-based and it's true, because people are saying like, yeah, she was the only one that used to call out Diddy, yada, yada, yada. And that could be true. And in his particular case, because we know he's awful and nasty, yes, read him for filth. I'm talking about some of the lighter things, some of the stuff that it's kind of like, ooh, girl, like, do we? And primarily when it concerns women. Now, if Wendy Williams was still on TV right now and she was doing something like dragging Brian McKnight for being a bad daddy to them first set of kids he had, but then acting like his new kids are his only kids, yes, drag him. Drag him, right? If we would start talking about things that are more based in like women's pop culture, I don't know if I would feel any differently about that than I did when she was on TV. I don't know. I just didn't like it. And you know what I'm thinking about now, like in this moment talking to you guys, it's because the stuff that she would talk about when it was based on like men, that stuff would be facts. Like, oh, Nelly got arrested in Vegas and he had whatever on him, whenever that was in the news like a couple months ago. That is factual. That is fact-based. When she used to talk about women, she used to just drag them. I'm trying to think of a story about a woman that she told that wasn't messy. And right now, I cannot think of it. I know she used to talk about Whitney Houston. And maybe I just have a soft spot for Whitney Houston. But I'm like, yeah, we all saw how her life played out. But to me, I'm like, why do we have to bring up the the bad things about, especially now, like, why do we have to keep bringing up like the bad things or the not so great things about them and like dragging their name in the mud? I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't like how she used to talk about women because it never really felt like she was a girl's girl. Like if she felt like the tea was hot enough, she was just going to spill it and she didn't care if a little bit got on your dress or not. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, especially if she was on TV right now with this whole Remy and Papoose thing happening, I could see where she definitely would be like talking about Remy Ma, which, and maybe rightfully so, because I feel like Remy had that man talking junk about her husband, talking about them being together during that cipher or whatever. And that's embarrassing. It's kind of like, Remy, if you're going to cheat on your husband, do it with somebody who is not a squeaky wheel. Because you did it with somebody that was a squeaky wheel and he told all your business. And that was the first domino that fell. And now here we are. Now we know too much about your personal life. And we know your husband has a girlfriend. But now you're mad at that. It's just too much. And I feel like shows like Wendy Williams' show could be different. Even when she would have guests come on the show. Yes, a part of it was to like promote whatever they were doing. But then also I kind of felt like she had like that messy kind of interview style. It was kind of like, oh yeah, it's cute that you wrote this book, but tell me about such and such. Like, I don't know. I don't like it. And that's probably why I also don't like The Breakfast Club, because I feel like you go on there for one thing and they only do it to certain people. Now, certain people they know not to play with, but if they feel like they can play with you and kind of drag you a little bit, they will. And I don't like it. So I know I'm not in the majority for saying we don't need that on TV, but we don't need that to come back to TV. We really don't. I hope she's okay, and I hope she gets all of her financial things worked out, and I hope she's doing better and she's healing and that medically she's okay. Like, I really do want the best for her. And because her own personal tea was real hot when she went off the air with her husband and him, whatever. Yeah, so I hope all of that is like better for her and that she's not stressed. I just don't want to see that come back on TV. I'm sorry. You know, with that being said, talking about creators and content, the TikTok ban, I guess, is approaching. We don't know if it's really going to happen. We all have to wait and see what happens on Monday. And I'm going to be a little hurt when TikTok goes. I feel like the stuff that I see on TikTok is so funny, is so creative. And to be honest with you, I don't see that on any of the other social media platforms that I'm on. I don't know what's going on with the Instagram algorithm, but I never see any of the stuff that I actually want to see on Instagram. And just for myself, I feel like what my goal is with Instagram this year is to make it more of like a life journal. I'm going to share stuff once a week on there. It'll be snapshots from, the previous week. And like, that's it, right? My page on Instagram is not overly curated. I never did get the hang of that. And I know that that's what makes your account grow on Instagram. And I think I gave up on that a long time ago because I'm like, but in real life, I'm not an overly curated person. So there's no need for me to have an overly curated page on Instagram. On TikTok, I feel like the rawness of TikTok is what makes it so special because nothing on there is overly curated. And when you come across something that is like well produced, well edited, well lit, and it looks like, wow, this looks great. When it looks like it should be on Instagram, that's rare. Like when I'm going through my For You page, I don't see a lot of that. Most of the time it's just people at the gym. It's people sitting in their car talking. It's slideshows, and it's not perfect. It's not always what we would consider to be like the best. It literally looks like somebody just propped their camera up and was like, hey, look, listen. Do you know what I'm saying? The couple of things that I've had go viral on TikTok were just that. It was like, oop, let me prop my camera up and say this really quick. I'm not even going to edit it. I'm going to put it up here and walk away. I think the TikTok algorithm responds really well for that. And a lot of my favorite creators are on TikTok. They also have Instagram and they also have YouTube, but I'm not even going to hold you. My days of sitting down and watching vlogs is probably over. Like, I don't have time to sit down and watch 13 minutes and 15 minutes of anything. But you know what I do have time to do? I can watch a quick 1 minute to 2 minute, maybe 3 minute video on TikTok of like your trip to wherever you went. Like if you went on a brand trip, I can watch the TikTok version of that. I probably don't have time to ever watch the YouTube version of it. And that stuff would just never come up in my Instagram feed. Even if I'm following these creators, I never see them in my Instagram. So I'm going to be sad to see TikTok go because I like a lot of the people that I follow on there. They are very smart. They're very funny. They're very informative. And they're entertaining. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I recently started watching My Wife and Kids all over again because it's on Netflix right now. And so I'm watching it from the beginning. And can I just say that when you go back and watch a show like that, it definitely hits you a lot different. Some of the jokes and stuff are still just as funny, but some of them make you cringe a little bit. Also, some of the stuff that used to be on TV, I just can't believe it used to be on TV. Like there was an episode with Shaq where Shaq like pulls his pants down and like shakes his butt to the camera. There are some strange scenes with those children. And I'm like, man, if I had a child actor, I don't know how comfortable I would be with seeing these other adult actors like touching and kissing all over my kids. But I guess that's what also makes it like a show that's believable, right? Because it's supposed to be a family show. And when you're a family, you might pull a kid up and make them sit on your lap. Or you might, like hug them. You do hug and kiss your children. So I don't know. But I don't know. For some reason, it is hitting me a little bit different now. What really bothers me, though, is season 2. Is it season 2 or season 3? I don't know. Whichever season Tisha Campbell has her baby, like in real life, she has a baby and she's on maternity leave. So on the show, Jay is like away visiting her mom or something like that. When Jay finally comes back home, like she comes back from maternity leave, there are so many like jokes and like punchlines about her body and her weight and all of that. And none of that like has sat all that well with me. And when she gets laid off from her job on that show and they start going to a therapist, almost every therapist they go to completely overlooks Jay's concerns. And everybody, because her husband is so like funny and charming, the therapists naturally gravitate towards him. And she just really doesn't get seen or heard. Like everything is a joke based on her. Like she is his walking punchline a lot of times. Now, because Tisha Campbell is a great actress, there are times where like she gets him back or she's able to crack a joke at his expense. And it's, it's funny, but it's definitely not as balanced as what maybe it was perceived as it was like back when that show came on TV. But I'm still watching it and enjoying it because at the end of it all, it is a funny show. Like the way they go back and forth and banter with each other, it really is a funny show. And I think I had forgotten about how good it was. It's really good. Now, we did have a snow day here in Atlanta last week, and I was happy to be a part of the snow day. I'm always game for any time school gets canceled because I don't be wanting to get up and take them children over there, right? Snow day here was great. We went outside, we played in the snow, but as a whole, for the Atlanta metro area, I just have to say I enjoyed seeing a lot of the snow day videos. People skiing, people snowboarding, people on air mattresses that hooked their air mattress to the back of pickup trucks, and I don't know what you call that, but they were they were doing that. Like, it was nice to see people just out enjoying themselves and having fun, like as a community, like as a city. This metro area was like, you know what? We don't get these too often. Let's get out here and have some fun and forget about all of the bad things going on in the world, which on the one hand, it's like, yay, let's do that. But then on the other hand, it's like, ooh, how much fun can I have when I know people in California's livelihoods, their homes, their families are in so much imminent danger, or like they have lost everything. And the more I see about that and how that's impacting everyday people, my heart is just broken over that, because I cannot imagine, like, you evacuate, but you're still watching your house from the security footage that, you know, that, because we can all do that now, right? You're looking at your house and you're looking at your whole life go up in flames. And I know for a lot of people, they will not be able to like rebuild their homes because either they don't have the money, or that whole insurance fraud thing that's happening now with companies canceling policies as stuff is burning down. I'm like, how can that even be legal? Which is why the CEO of United Healthcare got popped that day. Because how? Free Luigi. Get him out of whatever prison y'all got him in, because his whole reasoning behind what he did, we're watching it unfold in California. People have lost literally everything. Many of them will not be able to return to that community. They will not be able to rebuild a home where their homes were. I hope and I pray that a lot of them own the land that their homes were on at the very least. So at least maybe they'll be able to sell the land and get some money. But it's going to be tough to see how that all works itself out, because I mean, how do you even rebuild? Which brings me back to the Hurricane Helene damage that was done in Appalachia here in North Carolina, like the Appalachian Mountains. For people who are not familiar with that, like Asheville, where the Biltmore Estate is, I think most people know about that. Those people are still struggling. Like, they still don't have houses. They still don't have their roads fixed. They still don't have bridges. They still don't have water. Like, they are still very much so in a situation where they shouldn't be. Like, I would have to pull it up and see what the government claims they did for them. But I know I've seen people make videos who actually live there, and they're like, yeah, our hearts go out to the people in California dealing with all that devastation. But let me just show you what the U.S. government is going to do about what's going on over there. They're going to do nothing. Like, it'll be months from now, and much of the affected areas in California will still look the way that they do today, because this hurricane happened back in October, or back whenever it did. And like, we're still without, like, we're still struggling over here. So, you know, we can never take for granted the daily comfort of knowing that your situation is good, because all it takes is one catastrophic natural event for anybody's life to just completely change. And you would hope that if it was you, you would want people to help you, at the very least, like, pray for you, and definitely to not be making light of your situation. Because I've been seeing a lot of people on the internet talk about, like, oh, we don't need to donate anything to them because they're rich, or they're famous, or they're whatever. And it's kind of like, no, what I think the situation is in California is that it's expensive to live there, right? And because we know that at least in some pockets of the devastation, those were like generational communities, meaning that somebody's great grandma may have bought like a family home back when it was not expensive at all. But in today's world, the land that the house is on, maybe not the house itself, but the land that the house is on is probably worth a lot of money now. And people, and smartly so, right? And people have not been selling those homes just because their grandparents passed away. Like, they've been keeping the properties in the family as they should, right? People that work in those communities, people that teach at the schools, work at the banks, they're the post office clerk, whatever. We're talking about people like that who go to work every day, get a paycheck every 2 weeks, and they make enough money to maybe pay the taxes on that house or pay whatever the smaller, because I'm sure it's still not small, but they probably have a decent mortgage, and they've been able to live in that community because of the sacrifices of the generations that came before them. And now, that's all gone. So what do people expect for people to do about that in 2025 when the price of goods is just so high that to make another house on that same piece of land where they were living may be something that they are not going to be able to afford? Especially, let's consider the fact that some of those people, because it was like generational family homes, what if their house was paid off like a long time ago and all they were doing was having to pay the taxes? What if that's the case? And now you're going to have a full-blown mortgage. If you have to build another house or you have to take out a loan to build a house, now you've just created a 2025 bill with 2025 interest rates, right? And that, to me, I can't even wrap my mind around that. Maybe going from not having that type of financial responsibility at all to now having it. Yeah, that's crazy. And a lot of people that live over there are going to be in that situation because their insurance has already told them that's just not my problem, right? And I still don't know how that could be legal. Could you imagine paying insurance for years? Like, because that's how insurance works, right? You pay into it for years because you're like, oh, in the event that something happens, I want to be insured. Then something happens and the insurance company is like, oh, I know I took your money for all these decades and nothing ever happened. Now something has happened, and you know what? We're just going to pull this policy back like you never gave us any money. Well, you know what? If it was me, and I don't know how big of a voice, it would take, but if it's me, I'm like, not only does that sound illegal to me, but if you're not going to cover my property as it states in my policy, what you do need to do, though, is run me my money back. However much money I've been paying on this policy for as long as I've been paying it, you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to run me my money back or you're going to honor this policy. Because the third option is Luigi. And I know you don't want that. I know you don't want that. But that's the kind of pressure companies put people under. And it's kind of like, what can we do? As citizens, you would think we would have more of a backing by the government, but every day I'm convinced more and more that the people we vote for, well, not the people that I voted for. I feel like the people that I voted for, I think they do have good intentions and, they try their best. But some of the people that some of y'all vote for, they just get into those offices because of the titles and the power, and they really don't give a you-know-what about the country or the citizens unless you've got something in common with them. But if the people in office that some of y'all voted for, if they happen to be jealous of anything about your life, or if they think for 1 second your life might be getting too good, as in too similar to what their life or their lifestyle might be, no, it's going to be a wrap for whatever it is you got going on, because they need to feel a separation between them and the rest of us. So they're going to put things in place to make sure that they always feel like they are superior or living a completely different life in a completely different bubble than the rest of us. And that's unfortunate. That really is unfortunate that there are people in office who feel the need to keep us separate in that way. Yeah. I don't know how many people really remember taking like civics, like poli-sci and like civics back in school. But one thing that I wish we would have spent more time on in school is the whole conversation around socioeconomic statuses, what that means to different demographics of people. And I really wish there would have been more of a focus on how government and the citizens of the country, how that affects all of us. Like, I really wish that would have been studied a little bit more in a way that taught us both sides to a coin. You know what I'm saying? Because that brings me to a funny Instagram video that someone shared. It was a cartoon of a lady telling a story about how one of her co-workers, who happens to be an older white woman who voted for the FOTUS, as people are calling him online, she voted for the FOTUS, and she was very happy about the win, and I guess she had been kind of gloating or having an air about herself, like around the office, and I guess based on who she works with, that just wasn't popular, right? People did not like her doing that around the office because they're like, "Ooh, girl, no, this is bad, but you think it's good," which, whatever. And so the lady comes into work one day visibly upset and shaken, and because she's an older woman, I guess someone that she works with was like, "Miss So-and-so, like, are you okay? Like, is everything all right?" And the woman was like, "Oh my gosh, like, you're not even going to believe this, like, when I tell you, but you know how here at our job, our insurance does not cover like X, Y, and Z." And the lady was like, "Yeah, they don't cover that." And the lady goes, "Well, I had been using the Affordable Care Act to pay for those things because, our job doesn't cover it. But luckily we had the Affordable Care Act in place, and the Affordable Care Act was able to help me pay for these other things that we need." Right? And the lady was like, yeah, well, that's what it's there for. Isn't that great? And then the woman is like, "But did you know that the FOTUS is going to get rid of that program? Like, I feel like I was lied to. I don't remember him ever saying that when he was running. All he ever talked about was getting rid of Obamacare." And I'm sure that it took everything in that woman. Well, the woman said she started immediately laughing, like she busted out like laughing. But I'm also sure it took everything in her not to like kick that lady while she was down and like rub it in her face. Because what do you mean you thought he was only getting rid of Obamacare? Like, in what world are you living in where you do not know that the Affordable Care Act is the same as Obamacare, and that the only reason they started calling it Obamacare was because they didn't like the fact that he had done something good for for people? Like, could you imagine? Like, I don't know how as a country we're ever going to be able to move forward if we're just letting every Tom, Dick, Harry, and Sally vote when the comprehension is not there, because it messes it up for the rest of us that actually pay attention and study for the exam. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. And so like the woman is like, "I don't know what we're going to do now, because like we need that medication. Like, I need those medical supplies, and I'm not going to be able to afford them if he really gets rid of that." And the woman, her coworker, was just like, "Girl, I don't know what you're going to do either. Like, I don't know." But that's why, you gotta know before you get in that booth. You gotta know all of the things before you get in that booth and just start clicking on stuff, because it really does impact your life. Like, everyday people, it impacts us when the government just decides they don't want to do something anymore. Who it does not affect is the very people that they are trying to always protect, which is that 1%. And maybe not even the 1%. Maybe it's like the 1 to 5%. Anybody who makes enough money to just kind of not even have medical insurance, none of this stuff is going to be a problem for them, because they have the disposable income to cover all of their needs. for people who actually need health insurance and for people who actually need good health insurance. Stuff like getting rid of the Affordable Care Act is something that you should have read up on enough to know that that is Obamacare. Like, how do you not even know that? I don't know. But I say all of that to say that the fact that insurance companies were able to just up and not allow people to start filing claims as soon as their houses were burnt to the ground, to me should be something that the federal government steps in and says, you can't do that. Like, that's illegal. Like, don't try it. And I don't know if the federal government, because I would like to believe that, like, on a day like today, the people up in the Capitol, the people in and around the White House are probably in somewhat of a transition phase because they know it's one of their last couple of days at work before, their replacement comes in. So I don't know how much they are truly like starting fights, like we're about to, file something with the Supreme Court because y'all can't do that. I don't know how much of that is happening. And we all know on Monday, I don't know what's happening on Monday. I know I'm going to Pilates on Monday and I'll be celebrating MLK. But if something else is happening on Monday, I'm almost certain it's not going to have anything to do with helping people fight the insurance companies that just told them to go F off. And, we have concepts of T's and P's. Like, are you kidding me? Things like that is what turns people from being like good-hearted people into entering their villain era. And I know that's not true for everybody. I know some of these residents are much older people, and I've seen them have such a calm, graceful nature about them amongst all the chaos that's happening, and that is admirable. But it's people like the people that's my age that got young kids, young families, people who are just starting out, and we're still trying to like make sure that when we're their age, we still have something. It's those people. It's my generation that's gonna be like, nah, you got me real messed up right now. Because I have 3 kids. What are you saying? I've been paying into this policy and you aren't going to shoot me a check real quick so that I can make sure my family has a place to sleep at night. No. Nope. But we are in the FA stage of that situation. We haven't quite gotten to the FO stage of it, but we're definitely in the FA stage, and I'm in full support of whatever the FO is going to be. Whatever the residents decide the FO stage needs to consist of, I'm down for it. They've got my support, and if there's ever a GoFundMe or a donation or whatever for that, I'm willing to donate to that as well, because you shouldn't be able to do people like that. And then lastly, before we go, the book club has started. As you know, I'm in the Pouring Over Books Club. We, this week, are having our second conversation about the second part of the book. And let me just say, we're reading Fly Girl by Omar Tyree, which is a story about a girl named Tracy. It takes place in Philadelphia, I think in the 80s. And I know the 80s were a different time, right? Where people probably were allowing their children to roam free. And I also understand that Philadelphia is a city, like a real city, where kids probably did walk 8 blocks this way and walked up to the corner store and did all that kind of stuff. So that's not lost on me either. But what is completely lost on me, though, is how so far in the book, those girls from like the age of 10, from like 5th grade, were so hyper focused on the attention of boys, being in a relationship with boys. And they got all of this from the women in their lives, from like their moms, from teenagers, their parents' friends. Like, they were absorbing all of that like grown folks conversation. and living it out as little 10th graders. So right now, the book started when that little girl was in 5th grade, about 10. Right now, where I'm at in the book, she's 14. Yes, I want to say she's 14. And like, spoiler alert, I guess, she lost her virginity to this boy named Victor, who's like very popular in the community, but is a womanizer. He's a little player. They were not even in a relationship. And Tracy herself has seemed to bounce around from like boy to boy to boy. Like, she very much so just wants, the male gaze on her. And she is diligent, very, almost like she's very much so like that is her goal of what it appears to be each and every day, is either getting some boy to notice her, talking to some boy. If a boy is talking to somebody else and she's like in the space, she's like, well, why would you talk to Rahima when I'm like right here? Like, hello. Like, I can't remember how this book ends because I read it a long time ago, but so far I'm like, oh my gosh, this is why the generation that I'm in, this is why we grew up being boy crazy, or why we grew up putting so much of our time, energy, and efforts into, like, yes, the attention of man. I sound like the girl on the Flawless song. But yes, this is why, because we were reading this kind of stuff thinking that this was normal. And it's not, because you grow up and you realize, girl, you could have been doing so many other things with your time, because at the end of the day, few of them are worth the time and attention that we gave them, right? And I don't want to go into every single last storyline in the book, but reading it now as an adult, I'm really like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I was reading this as a teenager, rooting for these little girls. Because no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would never want my daughter to be like any of the characters in this book so far. At least not the girl characters anyway. So if you're in the book club, don't forget to go up there and like respond to the questions and be a part of the conversation. I still need to add to the conversation for this week. I was trying to finish the last chapter in this part of the book first, but I may go ahead up there and see what people are talking about. I just don't want to read the spoilers. And she tells you, like, spoiler alert, if you haven't read all of it, I'm about to tell you what it is. So I'm trying to give myself today to kind of finish up reading it before I go up there and respond. But I'm very happy with how things have gotten started for me personally with 2025, other than this weird cold thing that I have going on. I've been able to like practice some of my hobbies. I haven't been able to rollerblade as much as maybe that I would have liked to, but I have been able to practice the guitar quite a bit. My husband got me, oh, yes. So actually, no, I will tell that story over on my other number because we've already been on the phone, girl, for an hour and 22 minutes. So yes, I think that's it for Tia's Table today. Oh, also over on my other number, we were about to start a walking series. On the walking series, the first episode of that, or like the first call of that, is definitely going to be like a how-to, like how to get prepared for really strong power walking and how to warm up for it. And I'm starting with that because back when I was sharing like my steps every day or like my walks every day, people were messaging me like, oh my gosh, how do you walk so fast? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to share my secret with you, which is not a huge secret, but apparently people don't know about it. So I'm going to share that so that we can all kind of be working on our pace together. And then once we have this initial call with the warm up and the how to, our next call will be a 15-minute walk. The next one will be a 30-minute. The next one will be a 45-minute. And the next one will be a 60-minute. Once we reach that 60-minute walk, after that, we will have calls that are like walking calls that'll be fun. I don't want to spoil it, but they will be a great way to kind of like maybe give yourself a break from listening to music, maybe while you walk, right? So, but music is important, and you will learn why on our first call in the walking series. So yes, Yes. I'm so excited about that. If you are not over on my other number, girl, like if you don't have it, you can click the link in the description box. Join the calls over there because you will not want to miss the walking series and all the other fun things that happen over there, like random stories. I like to use that space as more of like an audio blog, right? Because I don't have time to sit down and write and upload pictures and like do the whole thing. But you know what I do have time to do? While I'm getting dressed for something or while I'm riding in my car, I can spill all of my personal tea over there. I can multitask. So good stuff, girl. If you try the Perricone Promise or if something about that stood out to you, message me and tell me all about it. You can do that by messaging me at Tia V Fitness on Instagram. This was another episode of Tia's Table. Please join me for the next call. When you're out, compliment a woman, tell her something nice about herself, make her day. Don't compete, don't compare, don't complain. What God has for you is for you, and never knock another woman's hustle. I will talk to you later, girl. Love you. Bye.